Well guys, my original Jon Boat build, the Top Gun Jon Boat, the 14-foot Jon Boat build that started it all here on this channel, is due for an upgrade in a major way. I've got this brand new lithium iron phosphate battery by Epoch Batteries. This is a 100 amp hour 12 volt battery. We're gonna be cramming this thing in the casting deck, the Top Gun Jon Boat. In this video, we're gonna talk all things lithium batteries. I'm gonna talk about some of the differences between lithium batteries and how they're manufactured, because all lithium batteries are not created equal. And then of course, I'm gonna give you a full in-depth look and breakdown of all the specs and details of this particular Epoch Batteries lithium iron phosphate battery. And then I'm gonna show you the finished product installing it in the Top Gun Jon Boat. I also happen to have a couple other batteries laying around the shop that we can do some comparisons to as far as build quality, specs and details, and weight. Now guys, I'm not a battery expert, nor do I claim to be, but I am gonna tell you what I know about lithium batteries, give you an overview of this particular battery, do a couple comparison things, and then we're gonna install it in the boat. I'm gonna show you the new setup in the Top Gun Jon Boat. Here she is, boy. Look at that beast. 100 amp hour, Epoch batteries. It's not Epoch, it's Epoch. Some of the key features to note: 11-year warranty, Wi-Fi optional, heating, which is great, Bluetooth, which is awesome. That's right, they have an app, so you can download the app on your phone and you can check all the battery diagnostics, real-time status in the palm of your hand. And I'm going to show you that later in the video via screen recording. So this is what I got: the Epoch 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And we'll go over all the details of this in a minute. Got the charger. The charger is very lightweight and it can be easily mounted inside of the boat. And it's very small. It doesn't take up a lot of space at all. And it's well built. This thing is very solid. All the connectors look real good. See how everything's put together. And then this is really cool. This is actually a battery meter. It tells you different bars for power level on the battery. This is basically one that you can mount remotely inside of the boat, and this attaches via communication cable to the port on the side of the battery. I personally haven't seen that before. I think that's a pretty cool feature. This battery is also marine rated, flame retardant, IP67. Marine use, guys. You want to make sure if you're putting a battery inside of a boat that it is actually waterproof. Not all lithium batteries are actually waterproof, believe it or not, and this one is. So of course we're putting it in a boat, so we're good to go. And if you look at the specs, one of the things that sticks out the most to me is the life cycles. 3,500 plus charges available on this battery, guys. That can last you a very, very long time. And that's one of the benefits of having lithium iron phosphate cells instead of NMC, which is nickel, manganese, cobalt. Some quote mark lithium batteries have the nickel manganese cells, which look like these, and a lithium iron phosphate battery can last up to 6 times longer than a standard NMC battery. And that's what's in this, is lithium iron phosphate. Now, I'm not going to tear this battery apart or do a battery breakdown in this video. There's other videos on YouTube of guys taking the Epoch battery apart and showing you what's inside as far as the construction internally and the battery cells themselves to prove that it's not an NMC battery, and also how well this thing is put together. If you follow my channel for a while, then you'll know that I like things that look good, and this battery looks good. It looks mean, it's clean. They've put an emphasis on the design and the function. As far as internally, when I talked about the cells and the BMS and all that's inside of this battery, you'll see that you've got a top, you've got a bottom, and you've got countersunk Allen head screws. Now, when you take these two parts apart, there is a gasket and a seal in between, which makes it waterproof and dustproof. And that's where you get that IP67 rating at, cousins. You've got your 2-part casing with your seal in between. I'm not sure the material this is, some sort of plastic or polymer, but it is super strong material. You've got your on-off button on the top. And you guys know I'm a sucker for details. Check out this brushed metal finish around with the countersunk screw heads and the Bluetooth logo. Very nice. Over here, you've got communication ports. Now, this port here is sealed up. You'll see there's a resin in there. I'm guessing because they use this housing for some of their other batteries that port is for one of the other batteries. But this port is for the communication cable for the battery meter. I've got it clipped into the port. It is locked in. And another cool feature is these have gaskets inside of them. So when you screw them on, for one, you're not going to lose it. And for two, when you screw it on, it makes a seal and everything's watertight. I'm going to go ahead and turn the battery on. Beeps. And there is your battery meter. Now you'll notice that one bar is missing. Reason being is I took this battery out the other day and fished for 4 hours. I ran my electronics inside my boat and my trolling motor, granted 12 volt, but I ran my electronics and my 12 volt trolling motor on this for 4 hours, and I'm thoroughly impressed with the power of this battery to only be down 1 bar. I will say, as cool as this feature is, I'm not going to rip my whole boat apart to put this where I want to put it, but when I can, I will install this at some point, but for now, we're not going to have that installed. On this corner is the battery vent, and this is for equalizing pressure inside of the battery. Another feature that I think is really cool, and I've never seen on another battery before, it's almost common sense, guys, but it's these little brackets with these metal inserts, and that's so you could just directly mount the battery to your subfloor. No battery tray required, so you don't have to source a battery tray or pay extra from the manufacturer to get a special battery tray designed for this battery. It's right there, and I think that that's a really cool feature. A few other things I wanted to mention while I got the battery up here before we weigh it and do some comparisons to the other batteries that I've got in the shop is that this is the 12 volt 100 amp hour. I already said that a bunch of times, but they make a 24 volt that is the exact same casing. So you could get the exact same footprint as this battery in the 24 volt. Now they also make 48 volts. They also make golf cart batteries and RV batteries. So they got a wide selection of batteries on their website. If you want to check that out and learn more. Another thing that is noteworthy is the battery management system, or BMS, inside of this battery is capable of handling this battery being ran in series or parallel. All battery manufacturers don't make them that way. So this BMS is good to run up to 4 batteries in series or parallel if you choose to do so. Just one thing that I think is worth mentioning, because again, not all lithium batteries can handle running their batteries in series. The BMS just can't take it. I got the charger hooked up, give you a quick little demo. Plug this sucker in. Very easy to see the charge. When it's flashing red, it's charging. When it's green, it's full. There's a few things about Epoch Batteries that I want you guys to know. Number one, they're veteran owned. Number two, they're based out of the US. And actually, they're based out of Georgia. And even better, they're right outside of Atlanta, which is just about an hour and a half away from where I live. And lastly, they're really hands-on within the DIY community and super supportive of creators like myself and what we do on this channel and on social media, bringing these projects to life, incorporating new technology, as well as new batteries in our projects. So I've got 3 different batteries here. We're going to weigh them. We're going to talk about some of the differences. This is a 12 volt deep cycle lead acid battery. This was the original battery that I used on my trolling motor on my 14-foot Jon Boat back in the day. This is a 100 amp hour tracker lithium. Now this is actually a customer's battery that I'm going to be installing in their boat build. So not to pick on tracker, but that's the one that we got. And then of course we got the Epoch Batteries 100 amp hour. We're going to talk about some of the differences between these batteries, and then we're going to weigh them. I've been seeing this trend for the past couple years develop. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of guys were still running lead acid batteries in their boats, and slowly started seeing lithiums kind of come on the market, and guys actually put the money down to get lithiums. Most of the time, guys thought that they were too much, and over time, the market has turned around. They've seen the benefits. There's a lot more pros with these batteries than this battery. Now, bottom dollar, you can get a battery like this very cheap compared to one of these. But these batteries have some cons to them that the pros of these far outweigh. The first thing that you're going to notice with a lead acid battery is it's going to be significantly more heavy than lithiums that are out on the market. I'm going to show you that on the scale in a minute. But the lead acid batteries are just heavy, big old bricks, and the lithiums are going to save you weight. And that matters to a guy like me that's putting this battery in a 14-foot Jon Boat. If I could save 10, 15 pounds, and then you times that by 3 or 4 batteries sometimes, depending on the size trolling motor and your electronic setup, it could be a significant weight savings. Next up is reliability. Now, I know that this battery says reliable on it, but it was only reliable for 2 seasons. This battery down here is rated for 3,500 charges. I don't know what that is, like 9 or 10 years, something crazy like that. 0 to full charge 3,500 times. This lasted 2 seasons. And in all honesty, that was maybe like 40 or 50 charges over 2 years before it finally gave out. So just from a performance standpoint, lead acid batteries just have a track record of having to be replaced often in the marine industry. Lastly is just the technology that these batteries have to offer in the lithium category over traditional deep cycle lead acid. A lot of technology in these that enhance the experience. And one of those things is how fast they charge. So these lithium batteries are known to charge very quick. I mean, think of plugging in your cell phone and how fast your phone can charge. Very similar. Now, these are obviously much bigger batteries, but you can get these charged in a couple hours. They do come with high performance chargers, and most batteries have a proprietary charger for their batteries. I can also drain this battery to 0% and recharge it and not have to worry about if my battery is going to recover or not. Not the case with lead acid. If you drain it all the way down, at some point, it's going to hurt the life and charge cycles remaining in that battery. It's going to damage cells, and ultimately your battery is going to go out. I believe on lead acid, they really recommend that you only drain them down to 20% before recharging. And of course, there's some other bells and whistles or finer things in life that come with a battery like this over Grandpa's old John Boat battery. You've got your on-off button, no on-off button. You've got some communication ports that are external. None. And then also you've got the cell phone app, which obviously you're not going to have with that will give you real-time diagnosis of what's going on inside this battery. But not so fast, my friends, because even with all the cool things that these have to offer that this battery doesn't, there is a difference between lithiums. And we're going to talk about that by looking at this one and looking at this one. That's right. Not all lithium batteries are created equal. So let's take a look at this battery. Let's look at the casing. Obviously, there's a size difference. This one's smaller top to bottom. It's a little bit narrower side to side. All right, so this one's a little bit more compact, but this one is pretty beefy. And that case looks a lot cooler than this one to me. But, you know, that's just pure aesthetics. I'm not sure internally how this one's constructed and this one is constructed that makes up the size difference. I don't know, but that's just from looking at it. Obviously, there's a size difference. Now, what you will notice is with this tracker lithium battery, the top and the bottom are sealed together. There's that little seam there. With the Epoch battery, not the same. Obviously, you see the top and the bottom. There's a gasket in there, and it's got those recessed screws in there. I've got another lithium down here, and it's the same way as that tracker. Obvious differences between the two. This one's got one handle. That one's got two. Not that I'm hell-bent on handles and one or two is better than the other. Just stating the obvious. On-off button with Bluetooth, which is for the phone app. I don't think tracker has an app. There's no button. I'm not aware if they have an app or not. It says nothing about an app, so I would assume no app. There's no Bluetooth logo. So those are two obvious differences. At the bottom of the battery, you've got your brackets, your reinforced brackets for mounting. This battery is going to need a tray. Now, I don't know if Tracker makes a proprietary tray that you can buy directly from them or not. I know I don't have them. With the Epoch battery, that would be no issue. I could literally stick it in that boat and mount it down to the subfloor. Also, the communication ports. No communication ports. No way to externally hook up that battery meter. And that may not be a big deal, but again, it's just a cool perk to have that remote battery meter, putting it somewhere else in your boat so you can see what's going on with your battery when you're not running the cell phone app. Last difference is vented, no vent. That has a raised post on the Epoch. Flush posts, if you can see, they're flush. And that's raised. I saw somebody say that a raised post is good because it gives you more meat if you're going to alligator clip something on there to charge. Now, I've got the charger from Epoch, but it is a raised post and it is a difference. All the things that I showed you on this battery are also equal in comparison to this on this battery that's down here, which is a smaller powerhouse lithium battery. And this is just a little 60 amp hour for electronics. All right, let's weigh these bad boys. We'll start off with the deep cycle lead acid. And guys, we've got the old Weight Watcher scale coming in handy. I don't know how accurate this thing is. 44.8 pounds on the 12 volt is what she says. Now, just for giggles, remember I told you that I've replaced batteries? This was another one that I was running that no longer works. And I believe this one is a little bit bigger than this one. So I also want to throw this one into the mix. Oh, goodness. Yep, definitely heavier. 56. Next up, the Tracker Lithium, and I could immediately feel a difference when I pick up a lithium. I'll tell you what, big difference. All right, here we go. 26.2. Goodness gracious, that's 30 pounds lighter than that guy right there. All right, let's try the Epoch battery. $29.6. A little bit heavier than the tracker, but still super light. Let's throw up this 60 amp hour, this little guy from Powerhouse, this cute little guy. 16 pounds on this tiny little fella. So no big shocker there on weight. This is half the size and half the weight. In a nutshell, guys, that's the difference between lead acid batteries and lithium. The way that I see it, the most obvious things that I can tell you. I'm not a battery expert or a battery nerd, so there's probably a lot of performance and technical stuff going on inside these batteries that differentiates them from each other, but I don't have that information. I'm just stating what I know off the top of my head and the reason a lot of people are shifting from these to these. Even showed you some differences between the Epoch lithium battery and a competitor's. I'm going to go ahead and get this battery back in the boat, but before I do, I want to make sure I go ahead and show you guys the application that Epoch has for this battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover that, and then at the end of the video, you'll see the final product. All right, guys, here is that app, and as you can see, my battery's sitting at 87% power with a total voltage of 13.3. You've got your max, your minimum, and your average volts, and underneath that, you've got your cycles, which as you can see, mine is 1 as it's a brand new battery. I'm gonna turn on a few accessories, and you'll see that the total watts come on, as well as up top, the total amp draw and the battery endurance time will show. At the bottom, you've got your temperatures, and at the very bottom, you've got your cells and series info. Back to the middle, you've got your watt hour capacity, as well as the amp hour capacity, which mine is at 89.9 out of 105 amp hours. I think the ability to get this information from your battery to your phone is one of those things you didn't know you needed until you have it. This can be a valuable tool for guys that are serious about boating or fishing, as there's no longer a guessing game for your battery status, and it can be beneficial for troubleshooting. I see real value in having a battery with a phone app. All right, guys, got the battery back in. Let's take a look at the new setup. So I did a few upgrades here, guys. Of course, the Epoch 100 amp hour battery is right under there, and we're going to look at that in 1 second. But I also finally added a trolling motor to this boat, and this is a Minn Kota Edge 45 pound thrust. That's really all that this 1436 needs. And believe it or not, I got this on sale at Walmart for $100. To make this new setup happen, I had to once again cut some stuff out of the boat, and it was a lot of work. I removed the casting deck. I removed the original battery box that I custom built for the 12 volt lead acid battery that was in here originally that powered all my onboard electronics, gutted that, and then I started test fitting the Epoch battery. Realized I was gonna have to adjust some framing, so I cut out the whole middle section of the framing, removed the seat base altogether, and bumped everything back with some new tube aluminum framing that I welded up. But unfortunately, you can't weld aluminum to the original wood frame, so I had to recycle the L brackets and put those back in place to attach the new T-frame tube to the original wood frame. Once I did all that, then I was able to fit the Epoch battery. I used the front 2 mounting locations to screw it down to the rib, and then I used a battery strap that I had to just tie everything back together to the framing, and it's not going anywhere. It's a tight fit, guys. But without further ado, let's check it out, and I'll go over some of the custom work that I did here, because there's a lot of things that I had to do to make this setup happen. Not battery related, but this is all tube framed aluminum custom trolling motor bracket that I made, wrapped it in the carbon, super low profile, actually is able to use the outside of the boat to keep this thing out of the way. So, and I notched the trolling motor so I could still open this hatch and get inside of there, and I could still flip up this hatch for the light bar. Of course, we've got that Epoch battery tight and secure in there, and man, this thing fits super, super snug. When I had originally built this lid, I left these 2 spots open for terminals, so that worked out perfect for clearing those terminals and that battery vent. And I had to do some custom work with the wiring on this trolling motor foot pedal. The factory wiring for the trolling motor foot pedal comes out of this, but I took all that apart and made it come out of the bottom. That way I could get this pedal on this lid, and took my latch that I had in place apart to run the wiring through the latch. The negative goes around and down to the negative on the battery, and then the positive goes around to the Tiny Boat Nation circuit breaker for that 12 volt trolling motor. The pedal is screwed in place to the lid, and then I drilled some new mounting points. The factory ones for that foot pedal are there. I drilled out some new ones underneath, was able to get that thing through the lid, jam up jelly tight. Since I had everything apart, I took my game up a level and wrapped everything in that carbon fiber wrap. Looks pretty cool. I reused the original battery shutoff that I had. I had to kind of relocate and rewire some things, but this new setup is better than what I had, and I'm just really happy that I was able to fit this battery in this location because, like I showed you earlier, this is a beefier battery. It's got a little bit more size to it, but man, it fits like a glove now. And you'll notice two things. Number one, I don't have that onboard charger mounted inside the boat because I don't go fishing that often. So this boat, unfortunately, doesn't get as used as much as I would like it to get used. So if it's in here and I need to charge it, I could pop this hatch, put the battery charger on, and just charge it. No big deal. Second thing goes back to that communication port for that battery meter. If I do ever mount it, I'll probably just mount it up and have it right here. That's a nice visible spot. But in the meantime, guys, I do have a voltmeter that's running to that battery. As you can see, it's giving me the volts. So I don't know if it's necessary for me to run that secondary meter that the Epoch battery came with, but if I do, I will probably mount it right here in this vertical wall on that front deck. But that's it, guys. I got it in there and I'm really happy with the fitment. I'm really happy with how everything looks and how this thing's constructed. Now, obviously over time, I'll keep you posted and updated on what I think of this battery, but so far, a couple times on the water, it's done what it's supposed to do. And everybody over at Epoch, super cool people. And like I said, they're just an hour up the road from where I'm at here at my house. So definitely a plus. But I'm really excited about this new version, this new era of the boat that started it all here on the channel. The old Top Gun Jon Boat, still kicking, still around, still holding down strong. Excited about this setup, this new lithium battery. Next thing I think is we're going to need a graph up front and might as well put some live scope on the old $100 trolling motor. I think that would be hilarious to have live scope on a 12 volt $100 Walmart trolling motor. But man, honestly, this setup is all this boat needs and it worked out really, really well. I had to obviously get creative with getting this thing on here, but it works. And I was really happy with how it performed out on the water for my first trip. Thank you guys for watching. As always, may your tiny boat builds be great, and we will catch you on the next one.